I thought I knew what true family drama was, but I never imagined my own sister-in-law would try to poison me and my unborn baby. What happened next wasn't just shocking. It landed her behind bars and ripped her own life apart. For 7 blissful years, I, a 29-year-old woman, have been married to my husband, Harry. Our life together is everything I ever dreamed of, except for one significant toxic detail, his sister, Kayla. When I first met Kayla, I genuinely liked her. She seemed nice enough. But over time, the real Kayla emerged, a manipulative, incredibly negative, and deeply toxic person. I spent years walking on eggshells around her, trying desperately to avoid her wrath because I knew exactly what she was capable of. You see, Kayla had a pattern. When Harry was 17, he dated her best friend, but he felt pressured into it by Kayla. They eventually broke up. Then, when he was 23 and single again, Kayla tried to force him into a relationship with another one of her friends. He flat out refused, leading to a massive fight. She actually went crying to their parents, demanding Harry marry someone she was comfortable with. Thankfully, his parents weren't swayed. So, when Harry and I met and fell deeply in love, his parents were nothing but supportive. Kayla, however, treated me with an icy coldness from day one. She'd constantly bring up Harry's exes, telling him how well they were doing and hinting he should reconnect with them. This wasn't just weird to me. Harry found it bizarre, too, and he'd ask her to stop. But Kayla would just get pissed, then turn her taunts on me, calling me jealous and insecure. Every time Harry's parents invited us for dinner, Kayla would accidentally run into one of Harry's exes and invite them along out of politeness. It was infuriating. And it wasn't just in person. She relentlessly stalked my public Instagram, always the first to view my stories. If any guy commented on my photos, she'd immediately run to Harry, accusing me of posting inappropriate pictures. Harry and I would just laugh at her ridiculousness. When we decided to move in together, she practically begged Harry to break up with me, claiming I had too many flaws as a woman and that she could find him someone much, much better. That comment actually hurt. I had always tried to be nothing but kind to her. Unfortunately, things only escalated when Harry and I got engaged. At our engagement party, as everyone congratulated us, Kayla just sat there, quiet, simmering. Then, to everyone's shock, she abruptly got up and walked out. Later, she called Harry, screaming and crying about how she, as his closest family member, deserved to know about the engagement first, not with everyone else. Then she sent me a borderline threatening message, telling me to be a good wife to her brother because she had always been the only woman in his life. The message was so utterly cringeworthy I couldn't even bring myself to reply. I just left her on read, which I knew would make her even angrier. From then on, Kayla mostly ignored me, yet she inexplicably remained involved in all our wedding activities. When I went dress shopping, at my bridal shower, she was there spewing criticism, openly expressing her disgust with my choices. My future mother-in-law and Harry constantly called her out, but she just wouldn't stop. The breaking point came when she overheard me discussing centerpieces with my future mother-in-law. Kayla immediately launched into a mocking tirade about my lack of class and reiterated that Harry should have married someone better. I snapped. I screamed that I wouldn't tolerate her constant taunts anymore, and in no uncertain terms told her she was no longer invited to our wedding. Kayla gasped, genuinely shocked, as if it had never occurred to her I'd actually stand up for myself. Even my mother-in-law was furious with her and supported my decision. Kayla, of course, immediately ran to Harry, complaining that I'd embarrassed her and demanding he control me. Harry firmly told her he stood by my decision, and if she didn't apologize, she was out. Begrudgingly, she sent me a heartfelt apology. Again, I just left it on read. My wedding preparations were already exhausting, and I simply didn't have the energy for her drama. In the end, I allowed her to come to the wedding, mostly because I didn't want her bad-mouthing us later. Our wedding theme was elegant pink hues and pastels. Everyone followed it beautifully, except Kayla. She showed up in a black, floor-length gown with a veil, looking like she was attending a funeral. We were stunned. She then proceeded to tell anyone who would listen that she was mourning the loss of her brother to another woman. During the reception, Harry saw how uncomfortable I was and confronted her. She tried to play the victim, claiming she had the right to wear what she wanted and that I was too controlling. My in-laws, Mill and Phil, eventually had to ask her to leave when she wouldn't stop making a scene. It was humiliating, and from that day on, I completely steered clear of her. When our son Nate was born, I absolutely refused to let Kayla anywhere near him. She tried to fight it, but Harry and his parents stood by me. They understood exactly why I didn't want her around our baby and respected my decision. 2 years later, Kayla suffered a miscarriage with her then-boyfriend Jamie, and it absolutely shattered her. It was a truly sad time for everyone. Harry and I felt for her, especially since we already had Nate. So we decided to be a bit more forgiving. We started inviting her over, hoping she could bond with Nate. And honestly, she was surprisingly sweet to our son, despite how she treated me. For a while, it seemed like she had changed. But slowly, surely, she reverted back to her old self. She'd constantly complain about her tough life, always blaming ex-bosses or ex-friends for messing things up. It became clear that in Kayla's mind, she was never wrong. She rarely admitted fault and constantly played the victim to get people on her side. By the way, if you're still with me, soaking in all this unbelievable drama, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. More insane stories are coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. This year, Kayla decided to get married herself, and she invited everyone except us. Harry was genuinely shocked, especially since our relationship seemed to have improved somewhat. When we confronted her, she started rambling about how she couldn't allow me to come because I might upstage her wedding. I called her, asking what on earth would make her think that. That's when Kayla casually admitted she had knowingly worn all black to our wedding, and now she was afraid I might do the same. I was absolutely furious at her manipulative nerve and immediately told Harry everything. Harry, fuming, talked to his parents. They decided to take a firm stance. They would neither pay for her wedding nor attend it. This reduced Kayla to tears, and she immediately blamed me for creating this fiasco. Harry informed her that she had shamelessly admitted her own mistake, so she had no right to point fingers. But Kayla just justified it, saying our wedding was a long time ago, and I should just get over it. Desperate when Phil and Mill still refused to pay, Kayla actually reached out and profusely apologized to me, begging for forgiveness. I hate to admit it, but Kayla can be incredibly sweet and persuasive when she wants something. I forgave her, truly wanting to just move on. Her wedding with Jamie went well. We all attended and had a good time. Less than 6 months later, Kayla was at our doorstep, complaining that her marriage was falling apart. Harry and I, still trying to be good family, let her stay with us for a few days. She spent hours venting about Jamie, specifically blaming him for their struggles to get pregnant. I tried to reason with her, but she was adamant it was all his fault. When she wasn't complaining about Jamie, she'd become hyper-focused on our lives, trying to stir up non-existent issues. For example, I usually hit the gym every morning before work. Sometimes, if I'm running late, I'll bring my work clothes to shower and change at the gym. Kayla noticed this routine and started asking a barrage of questions. Why are you taking a bath? Why do you even need to go to the gym? I didn't think much of it, explaining I like to maintain my weight and didn't want to go to the office sweaty. She'd just purse her lips and nod. Eventually, things stabilized with Jamie, and she moved back home. One weekend, Harry and I went for lunch with Mill and Phil. Kayla and Jamie were also there. We left Nate with a babysitter since he usually gets bored with adult conversations. During lunch, Mill was telling us a story about a friend who got divorced because her husband cheated, and she ended up taking half his assets. Kayla suddenly interrupted, turning to Harry and asking, with me sitting right there, if he and I had signed a prenup. We both stopped eating, staring at her. She acted like I wasn't even in the room, looking at Harry expectantly. Harry, not one to mince words, told her straight up that since we both earned well, we saw no reason for a prenup. Kayla snorted and started saying, "Well, there are a lot of cheaters out there nowadays, Harry. You could be blindsided any day." I took immediate offense. "What exactly are you insinuating, Kayla?" I asked, my voice tight. Then she dropped the bombshell. "Well, you're always carrying a change of clothes everywhere, so you're definitely meeting up with someone. As Harry's sister, it's my duty to warn him." I was utterly shocked. Mill and Phil immediately jumped in, furious, telling her to stop making things up and to mind her own business. But Kayla, without missing a beat, doubled down, saying she was just looking out for her brother, and then, with a twisted joke, asked if Nate was really Harry's son, since he didn't exactly look like him. I swear I watched Harry's face go crimson. I have never seen him so angry in my life. He looked Kayla dead in the eye and told her, his voice shaking with rage, that this was why she wasn't a mother yet, because she didn't deserve to be one, and that her child was better off in heaven than with someone like her. Kayla's mouth fell open in shock. Mill and Phil just stared in stunned silence as Harry continued to unleash years of pent-up fury. He called her a shameless person who tried to ruin everything because she had nothing good in her own life, a loser who did nothing all day while her husband worked tirelessly. He finished by saying that instead of pointing fingers at me and asking about prenups, she should worry about her own marriage because she was clearly projecting. Kayla was reduced to floods of tears, looking desperately at Jamie for support, but he just sat there, silent. I'd never seen Harry lose control like that. Kayla eventually ran to the washroom, sobbing. Harry was still fuming. Mill came over to calm him, and I rubbed his hand. He looked at me, his eyes full of regret, apologizing for what his sister had said about our son. I just nodded. I understood how frustrating Kayla could be, but a part of me was also glad Harry had finally stood up for me so publicly. After he calmed down, he apologized to Jamie, but completely ignored Kayla. From that day, we went back to no contact with her. Her behavior wasn't just affecting me anymore. It was deeply impacting Harry, too. We blocked her everywhere. Mill and Phil agreed that Kayla had gone too far, seeing how their usually calm son had been pushed to his breaking point. It's been a year since we last spoke to her, and everything has been wonderfully smooth. 2 months ago, I found out I was pregnant. It was a complete surprise. We weren't even trying, but Harry and I felt incredibly blessed to be welcoming another member to our family. We decided to reveal our exciting news at Harry's birthday party, which Mill and Phil were hosting in their backyard with close family and friends. Kayla, however, must have heard about it through the grapevine because she decided to show up uninvited. Harry and I were shocked to see her. She came right up to Harry, hugged him tightly, and told him how much she'd missed him and how sorry she was for their last conversation. Harry, taking my hand, told her she should be apologizing to me since she had slandered my character. Kayla nodded, turned to me, and apologized. She claimed she'd been going to therapy for months and realized how wrong she was to humiliate me like that. I didn't believe a word, but I didn't want to make a scene, so I just nodded. Mill and Phil came over, assuring us they had no idea she was coming and offered to kick her out if we were uncomfortable. But Harry didn't want to ruin his party, so we agreed to let it go. Throughout the party, Kayla was odd. She was laughing, mingling, almost too positive, which was completely out of character. But she had mentioned therapy, so I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. When it was time to cut the cake, Harry gave a heartwarming speech, saying he was the luckiest man alive, grateful for another year with a wife like me. His words made me blush, reminding me how deeply in love we still were. Then, with beaming smiles, Harry and I announced our big news. We were expecting a baby. Everyone paused, then erupted in cheers and happiness. My mother started crying, hugging me, and Mill and Phil had tears streaming down their faces as they congratulated us. Everyone was so genuinely happy. The only sour note was Kayla. She looked utterly stunned. I thought she was processing, but then her expression hardened, and she just walked away looking furious. I worried she'd ruin yet another celebration, but other guests quickly distracted me. Later, when it was time to serve lunch, I went to help my in-laws, but Harry and my parents insisted I stay seated, telling me not to lift a finger. I was patiently waiting for Harry to bring me a plate when Kayla approached me, practically beaming. She held a plate of food, loudly announcing she personally wanted to serve me since she was so happy about my pregnancy. As she handed it to me, she even made a comment about making up for all her past rudeness. I nodded, accepted graciously, and she walked away. As I was about to dig in, I thankfully noticed shrimp on my plate. It's a widely known fact among my family that I'm highly allergic to shrimp. I was shocked Kayla, of all people, had served it to me. Shaking my head in disappointment, I got up to get my own food. At that moment, Jamie came over to congratulate me. We chatted a bit, and he asked why I wasn't eating. I pointed out the shrimp, assuming Kayla had made a mistake. Jamie, ever so kind, said not to worry, took the plate from my hands, and told me he'd eat it since he liked shrimp and I could get a new plate. I smiled, nodded, and walked off. Less than 5 minutes later, Jamie started violently puking and retching over that plate. Everyone stopped, horrified, watching him stumble to his feet. Harry and Kayla rushed to his side. Jamie pointed at the plate, then clutched his throat. Our eyes widened in sickening realization. Something was terribly wrong, caused by what he'd eaten. Jamie then fainted, and everyone gasped in shock. Kayla frantically checked his plate, her eyes widening in horror. She turned to me, demanding to know if I had given my plate to her husband. I just nodded, barely able to speak. In the chaos, someone called an ambulance, and Jamie was rushed to the hospital. Kayla was crying uncontrollably through it all, casting furious glances my way. Later, we were informed Jamie had been poisoned. I almost fainted when I heard that, because unlike everyone else, I knew that plate was originally meant for me. Whatever poison Jamie ingested, it was intended to harm me and my unborn baby. Harry, Mill, Phil, and my parents had no idea. The police were called, taking the food as evidence. No one could comprehend what had just happened. As I typed this, Jamie is still recovering in the hospital, with Kayla staying by his side. Harry and I have been inundated with calls from relatives, all asking what happened and who could have poisoned him. Mill and Phil are utterly shaken and are staying with us, too afraid to be in their own home. Everyone is bewildered, wondering how everything could have gone so wrong so suddenly. I'm terrified to tell them the truth, that the plate was originally mine and Kayla had personally served it to me. If this turns into an investigation, I will have to tell the police. I feel an overwhelming guilt for what happened to Jamie. But more than that, I am now terrified of what Kayla is capable of. She clearly has no inhibitions. I can't be around her, and I certainly can't let my children near her. The thousands of comments on my original post were overwhelming. My hands were shaking when I typed it. Despite everyone saying it wasn't my fault, I still felt responsible for Jamie's incident. I should have just thrown the plate away, but I don't know why I let him take it. I cried constantly, terrified of what would happen to him. Harry knew something was deeply wrong. He hovered, thinking I was just worried, completely unaware of what I knew about his sister. I agreed with the comments. I needed to talk to everyone calmly. I didn't know if they'd believe me, but Mill and Phil have security cameras covering their entire house, including the backyard. We could surely verify that Kayla was the one who offered me that plate. I decided to talk to everyone that night. So we talked. And I am so grateful to have the best in-laws in the world. Since Mill and Phil were already staying with us, I sat them and Harry down during dinner. Taking a deep breath, the weight of the situation heavy on my shoulders, I recounted the events of the birthday party, how Kayla had served me a plate with shrimp, and how Jamie had unknowingly eaten it, leading to his poisoning. As I spoke, the shock and disbelief on their faces mirrored my own. Mill and Phil exchanged glances, their concern palpable, while Harry's expression shifted from confusion to sheer rage. I continued, expressing my fear about Kayla's true motives and her previous attempts to harm me. I admitted my hesitation in sharing this, fearing the consequences for myself and our unborn child. Mill, ever pragmatic, immediately suggested checking the security camera footage. Phil nodded in agreement, recognizing the gravity of the situation. Harry, though visibly upset, remained silent, absorbing the shocking revelation. After reviewing the security footage from their camera app, the truth was undeniable. The footage clearly showed Kayla offering me the poisoned plate, and the subsequent horrifying events leading to Jamie's distress. The weight of the evidence left no room for doubt. Emotions ran high as the realization truly set in. Harry, now fully aware of his sister's malicious intent, struggled to contain his anger. Mill and Phil were appalled by their daughter's actions, shocked at the lengths she had gone to create chaos. We sat in stunned silence, struggling to comprehend why she would do something so heinous. In the aftermath of this revelation, my in-laws decided to give the evidence to the police, recognizing this as a very serious matter. Phil and Harry would also meet with Jamie once he recovered, as he was the one who needed to press charges against Kayla. I had no idea how Jamie would react, and I cried every time I thought about how I had allowed him to take my poisoned plate. I couldn't sleep or eat properly, so worried about him. A month later, I'm finally back with an update, though I'm a pregnant woman going through a lot right now. First things first, my in-laws gave the recording to the police. After watching the evidence, Kayla was arrested. She didn't even deny the charges. She immediately burst into tears, admitting to everything. Harry talked to Jamie, who was as shocked as any of us. Harry urged him to press charges, telling him that regardless of what he chose to do, he would always be a part of our family. In the end, after Jamie recovered, he not only decided to press charges but also filed for divorce. Kayla called Mill and Phil, crying and begging them to forgive her. It turns out Kayla is actually pregnant herself. She tried to manipulate them, begging them to bail her out for the sake of their grandkid. Phil, however, firmly told her they were done coddling her and that she finally needed to take responsibility for her own actions. Mill is incredibly sad about what's happening to her daughter, but she understands that what Kayla did simply cannot be forgiven. The police found evidence that she had tampered with the food, intending to harm me, which had backfired and ended up hurting her husband. She has been charged with multiple offenses related to tampering with food, endangering life, and causing harm. She has been begging Jamie not to press charges, hysterically claiming it was all my fault anyway, but thankfully, Jamie doesn't care. His mind is set on punishing her. Her court hearing will start soon. I don't think she can escape this time. Meanwhile, my son and I are doing okay. Nate has no idea about what his aunt has done. Harry and I have talked, and we plan on sitting down with him to tell him the truth when he's older, as we want our son to understand and be aware of such situations. It's going to be a difficult but very necessary conversation. I'm also going for regular ultrasound scans every 2 weeks, as advised by my doctor. We're keeping the baby's gender a surprise. My parents know everything that happened with Kayla and have become incredibly protective of me. They're worried this might affect my psychological well-being during pregnancy, so they're encouraging me to go to therapy. I agree with them. Despite trying to act normally, I've developed a deep-rooted fear after what Kayla did to my food. I'm afraid of eating any outside food or anything I haven't prepared myself. Harry understands my fear and is there for me every step of the way, so hopefully I can get over this irrational fear soon. It's been 8 months since my last update, and Kayla is currently serving time in prison. She was found guilty of the charges. I never attended her court proceedings, but my in-laws did sometimes, and they told me everything. Kayla admitted to the court that she had been consumed by jealousy for years, never wanting an outsider to marry her brother. She had always dreamed of one of her best friends marrying Harry, which is why she constantly tried to bully me when he started dating me. When we announced our pregnancy during Harry's birthday party, she was filled with white-hot jealousy because she was actually about to announce her own pregnancy as well. She had suffered a miscarriage previously, so she felt like we stole her moment to shine. According to her, due to pregnancy hormones, she got so enraged that she mixed a small amount of rat poison with my food. She admitted she just wanted me to end up in the hospital, never wanting to physically harm me or the baby. And in her twisted, self-serving mind, she even tried to argue that because I gave my plate to her husband, I basically poisoned him, and therefore she deserved a lighter sentence. The judge, thankfully, saw right through her desperate pleas, and she was sentenced to prison, finally out of our lives for quite some time. Jamie has also successfully divorced her, so he is finally free. We've met with him over the months and continue to include him in our family activities whenever we can. He and I have talked, and I've apologized profusely for giving him my plate, but he assured me it was never my fault. I started to cry when he said that, because I had been replaying that moment over and over in my head, wishing I could have done things differently so he was never poisoned. I'm so glad Jamie is doing okay now. As for me and Harry, we've welcomed a beautiful baby girl into our family. Despite the lingering shadows of the past, the presence of our daughter has brought so much warmth and light into our lives. Our son Nate is ecstatic about becoming a big brother and has been showering his little sister with affection and love. Watching our children bond fills our hearts with immense gratitude. Throughout all of this, my parents and in-laws have been our unwavering rocks, helping us navigate this new, wonderful chapter in our lives. It's been an absolute roller coaster, and honestly, some days I still can't believe it all happened. But I want to know, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done differently from the very beginning? Or have you ever faced such venomous jealousy from a family member? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear what you all think.